path we're on was a well-worn path. We're following what was once an active rail line. The trains shipped Pennsylvania coal, lumber, and ore to larger markets, such as Philadelphia and New York, and returned with finished goods. This process of exchange fueled the American Industrial Revolution, which relied on fast and dependable transportation networks. In the first half of the 19th century, newly built canals played this role. After the Civil War, however, railroads increasingly competed with their slower rivals and dominated for the next century. Only the post-World War II proliferation of long-distance trucking and the abundance of cheap fuel stifled the era of railroads. The Delaware and Lehigh Canal National and Slate Heritage Corridor is a 165-mile National Heritage Area in eastern Pennsylvania. It stretches from north to south across 5 counties, including Bucks, Northampton, Lehigh, Carbon, and Luzerne, and over 100 municipalities. It follows the historic routes of the Lehigh and Susquehanna Railroad, Lehigh Valley Railroad, the Lehigh Navigation, Lehigh Canal, and the Delaware Canal. And it goes from Bristol, northeast of Philadelphia, to Wilkes-Barre in the northeastern part of the state. This 165 miles has 3 regions. The Anthracite region, which runs from Wilkes-Barre to Lehigh Gap. The Delaware Canal region, which runs from Easton to Bristol. And the Lehigh Valley region, which we're on now, and it runs from the Lehigh Gap to Easton, including Lehigh and Northampton counties. This region is also home to the DNL offices, the National Canal Museum, and one of America's only mule-drawn canal boats. The Delaware and Lehigh National Heritage Corridor has occupied a special place in American history for centuries. Its unique combination of industry and natural resources made it a cradle of the Industrial Revolution. Later, this acclaim catapulted the region to an internationally recognized hub of production. Without a doubt, the Delaware and Lehigh canals were essential links in this process. The history of this region we now know as DLNHC begins with the Lenni Lenape people. At first, they were the ones who hunted and gathered in the valleys, forests, and rivers throughout this area. Then came colonization. During this time, William Penn promoted religious tolerance and land settlement. He attracted thousands of immigrants who left their homeland in search for a better life. They farmed the corridor's rich, fertile soil and established diverse communities. Patriots of the time bravely read the Declaration of Independence right here, solidifying this region's place in history. And just miles down the road, George Washington crossed the Delaware River in the dead of winter during the Revolutionary War. Innovative entrepreneurs produced iron, coal, slate, cement, zinc, and textiles throughout the 18th and 19th centuries. They transformed the region into a center of the Industrial Revolution. The Delaware and Lehigh canals transported hundreds of tons worth of goods to New York and Philadelphia, fueling industry and creating jobs, a legacy the DLNHC works to preserve and celebrate. Bethlehem Steel grew from a modest iron producer to one of the most lucrative businesses in the U.S. Notably, it provided steel for the George Washington, Brooklyn, and Golden Gate bridges, submarines, Madison Square Garden. These projects further brought international acclaim to the corridor. Then, in the 20th century, the coal and steel industries dimmed and the mills closed. Population shifted as residents moved out of the cities and farms in search of suburban dream houses. Today, the corridor is a lively, vibrant place to live. Towns and cities are revitalized and their historic districts have been preserved. Technology, culture, and innovation have replaced the industry's past. What am I going to wish for today? And during the 19th century, the Lehigh and Delaware River and their canals formed an important part of a grand transportation system stretching from the Appalachians to the Atlantic. Between 1818 and 1834, businessmen Mr. White and Mr. Hazard tamed the rocky Lehigh River by engineering dams and canals. They found the Lehigh Coal and Navigation Company and made the Delaware Division Canal an efficient way to transport anthracite coal from mine to market. Hazard and White created one of America's first industrial and transportation networks, which led to an industrial boom across Pennsylvania in the northeast United States. In 1862, a massive flood destroyed all the dams, locks, canal boats, and villages between Whitehaven and Jim Thorpe along the upper Grand Division of the Lehigh Canal. This disaster accelerated the shift from the canals to the railroads as the main mode of transportation of goods. Asa Packer's Lehigh Valley Railroad, running from Munchunk to Easton and on to New York City, was the first rail line to have a significant impact on the canals. In 1863, the Lehigh Coal and Navigation Company extended its own railroad, which further reduced the tonnage of its own coal it shipped on its canals. Eventually, numerous railroads crisscrossed the entire anthracite region and connected it with the industrial centers on the East Coast and the Midwest. The Delaware Canal triggered the commercial development of several communities along its path, most visibly in the northern and central regions of the corridor. Though most of these towns also boasted industries such as quarries, lumber yards, and textile mills, Bucks County never saw heavy industry established along the canal, with the exception of the Durham furnace. Instead, much of the country's commerce was carried on via the canal, and no major railroad was ever built alongside it. Over thousands of years, the Lehigh River carved through the ridges of the Appalachian Mountains, creating future industrial transportation routes. Footpaths along the riverbanks gave way to canals, then to railroads, and finally to modern-day highways. The Delaware and Lehigh Valleys played a major role in the colony's success during the American Revolution. George Washington's famous 1776 crossing of the Delaware River occurred just miles down this path. The Liberty Bell and the chimes of Christ Church from Philadelphia were safely hidden in Allentown, and Philadelphians who fled the war found safe havens in the Lehigh Valley. Easton was the site of the second public reading of our Declaration of Independence. Durham Furnace in Bucks County was the first to furnish cannons and ammunition for Washington's army. The Lehigh Valley was the site of two major U.S. industrial innovations: smelting iron with anthracite coal and the production of Portland cement. Zinc oxide was first produced in Bethlehem, on the site that later became America's arsenal, Bethlehem Steel. Anthracite powered the nation for more than 70 years, and slate became an important regional export. Eastern Pennsylvania became the world's leading producer of silk in the early 20th century. Around these resource-based industries rose a commercial, transportation, and cultural web. Coal, slate, cement, iron, and steel from this area helped build America. Much of America's urban skyline is built on skeletons of Bethlehem steel. But of all the industry, products, and enterprises born out of the Coal Canal connection, none were as significant as iron. I don't know how far we hiked today, but we were gone for 4 hours there and back, so I'm assuming it was anywhere from 6 to 7 miles. On any given day, you'll most likely find Chris and I on this 165-mile trail somewhere. We'll be on this trail talking about the history, or driving around in the car and visiting small towns in eastern Pennsylvania and talking about their history. On the next video, we'll be going to Lehigh Gap. So if you like this video, please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you on the trail real soon.